People who survived murder, what are you stories? Random dude shot me in the chest because he thought I was my drug dealer neighbor. My neighbor was 6 feet 3 inches and black. I'm 5 feet 11 inches and white. Joke's on him, all he got were a few cigarettes, some pocket change, and 35 years on an attempted second-degree homicide conviction. My mom attempted to murder me and my sister when we were younger. She was going through a psychotic episode and pretty suicidal, and I said the wrong thing that set her off. She chased us down to the basement with a knife. We ran into my room and my sister hid in the closet while I tried to fight my mom off at the door. She was trying to push it open while I was trying to push it closed. It was a back and forth struggle until she put her hand in the door. I think she was trying to engage my nonviolence because she thought I wouldn't shut the door on her hand, but I slammed the door over and over again until her fingers broke. Meanwhile, my dad, who was in the house, finally came downstairs to check in what was happening. Mind you, this all happened very fast, and my dad has a habit of zoning out when my mom gets in her episodes. He ended up pulling her off of the door, and my sister and I ran out of the house and jumped in our van. He drove around the corner and turned off the lights, and we all ducked down in our seats to hide and stayed there until my dad saw her drive our other car off. When I was a kid, probably around 2nd grade, our house got robbed and my mom and I came home while it was in progress. For whatever reason, she decided to go in and interrupt them. She grabbed her gun, didn't shoot, yelled at them to get the fuck out of my house, and then we drove off in a hurry to the corner store to call the cops. This was before cell phones. Less than 2 weeks later, my mom and I are sitting in the living room on the couch, our backs to the front door. Someone drives by and fires about 6 or 8 shots into the front of our house. Thank God for a steel front door. The cops came and said they didn't think the two incidents were related. My older sister tried to stab me with a large knife in an attempt to kill me on my 16th birthday. My mother grabbed the knife off her before it got my stomach and slammed her against the fridge and yelled at me to run. Last time I saw my older sister, she said, "I've gotten over it and you should too. It's pathetic to hang onto it." She then told people it was self-defense because I tried to hurt her. I was literally eating my birthday breakfast. I didn't sleep properly for 2 years while she was in the house because she constantly tried to break into my room at night to slit my throat while I slept. I hate her. My parents moved to Mozambique during the mid-90s. I was around 8 at the time and started going to school there, a nice private one, can't complain. My father was working for the Red Cross in Kimoyo, so we had a comfortable life. One day, before arriving to school with a friend of mine, some sketchy guy stopped us, offered a whole bunch of money to just take some small box to a white van that was parked at the end of the street, not even 100 meters away. My lucky day, I guessed. It actually was, but for different reasons. When I was going to go grab the box, my friend grabbed me by the shirt, pushed me, and started running, screaming, something I didn't understand in Shona, the local dialect. That moment was when it clicked. The moment I looked back, the guy had already vanished. So, wherever you are, thank you, Chud, I will never forget you. It wasn't me but my uncle. When I was a kid, around a decade ago, my uncle got shot while coming out of a bar with a few friends. His friend got hit once in his shoulder but was fine. My uncle, on the other, got hit 3 times. Once in the colon, lung, and heart. By all rights, the shooter had gotten him and drove away. His friends rushed him to the hospital and, with a bullet lodged in his heart and blood entering his lung, he managed to survive. He was in a lot of pain for a long time, but since then he's gotten his life together and is getting married in about a year. Edit. I appreciate all the shot through the heart puns, LMAO. Keep 'em coming if you have more. Not my story, but grandmother's friend was getting picked up from work by her husband when he shot at her 5 times. He missed 4 times and the 5th bullet hit the underwire of her bra. He then turned the gun around and killed himself. He had just been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She's alive, and was completely uninjured. She now jokes about how bad of a shot he was to miss that many times. Crazy ass story. When I was 6 years old, I saw my bio dad stab my bio mom 20 times in front of my little brother and I. He took my bio mom's blood and rubs it on my brother's face and said, "This is your mother's blood." She almost died right in front of us. They got her to the hospital in enough time to save her life. But I was scary and I remember everything. He only went to jail for 8 years. He claimed he heard demons telling him to do it. Not my story, but a girl I went to high school with. She had a flat tire driving home from work one night during college and was pulled over in the side of the road. A car pulls up and she thinks someone is getting out to help. A dude just hecking rushes her, slits her throat and stabs her a few times, then gets back in his car and speeds off. She managed to make it to a nearby house and survived, but they never caught the guy. Hecking terrifying. Not me, but my mother. My mother was 7 to 8 months pregnant with her first child when one day her mother-in-law gave her a pudding mixed with poison. Soon after, it started taking effect and naturally affected the baby too. She was in labor and begged her in-laws and husband, my dad, to take her to the hospital, but they just refused to. She spent the whole night in pain and in the morning around 4 a.m., they took her to the hospital. The doctors said they couldn't explain how she managed to survive, as her blood was contaminated and the fetus had died in her womb at night. My dad took the fetus away before anyone could see him. I was working at Boston Market at the time. A customer came in and we served him like usual. Suddenly we hear him start yelling off the top of his lungs, "I'm going to kill all of you." We all step out of the kitchen to see what the heck is going on. This man was upset because we gave him a low serving of peas. Our manager kicks him out and he's now yelling, "I'm going to come back and kill all of you." Later that night it's just me and a different manager closing. We lock the doors and start heading towards our cars. Sure enough, guess who's standing next to my car? The guy points both his knives at me and starts chasing me. I run towards my manager, but his face is as pale as a ghost and he's all frozen up. I decide that if I'm going to die that night, I'm dying under my own hands and run straight into traffic. At this point I'm standing in the middle of the road. The guy is waiting for his shot to run, but then casually walks away. I call the cops, they come, they catch the dude, and they release him because he didn't actually hurt me. I quit my job the next week and never attended court with him. Don't know if this counts as murder, but I was on my way to grab breakfast with my sister. As we left the house there were helicopters flying around outside and we didn't think much of it. We started down the road and noticed that there were no cars or people anywhere. As we were driving, a car was swerving behind us and going super fast. He pulled up next to us and got out with a gun and pointed it right at my sister's face. She slammed on the accelerator and we turned down a few streets until we were sure he wasn't following us. We headed straight home and turned on the news. Turns out he had shot 8 and killed 2 other people in the neighborhood and was later shot by police a few hours later. My first boyfriend was an abusive alcoholic. He wouldn't let me talk to anyone outside the house. Only while working was I allowed to interact with others. Well, got into my FB and discovered I still talk to many people, and he saw I told some people about what he does to me and I had some talk about leaving him. So he got extremely wasted, and when I returned home from work he threw me into a glass door, shattering it, punched me repeatedly, then dumped half of his drink on my head. I grabbed the rest of the drink out of his hands and smashed it into his face, and this is where he grabs my throat and squeezes. I was fortunate enough to have one of my many flailing punches and kicks to land on his balls. I broke a finger in the process. Nothing happened. I just left him eventually. That's a whole other story.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share the video. I post new videos every other day, so don't forget to turn on channel notifications. Have a good day.